everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files, here with another review. And this time it's for the Netflix original docu-series, which premiered this past Thursday, January 24th, 2019, which happened to be the 30th anniversary of Ted Bundy's execution. But this Netflix special or docu-series was titled Confessions with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes. So in this review, since it is factual, a lot of this stuff you can read upon, there's books on it, there's other movies about it, I'm just going to kind of touch on, this is a 4-part docu-series. I'm going to kind of summarize the episodes, let you know what I liked about it, give you guys more overall thoughts of everything that kind of took place in this docu-series, and let you know if it's worth streaming. So before I get into all those details, I want to go ahead and welcome all those that are new to Movie Files. This channel is filled with other movie reviews for movies at the theater, as well as things that we're doing today, like Netflix series, Hulu series, and everything above. We talk TV on this channel, TV reviews. We love movies, so we do trailer reactions, and we also love to collect movies, so we do unboxing videos. And something new that we're doing on this channel is giveaways for those new unboxings. So definitely do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you're hitting that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about this docu-series on Netflix. All right, so as I had mentioned, again, this is going to be a little bit different from my normal reviews because, again, this is all the stuff is factual, so you can look it all up. So I won't say necessarily spoilers, just things that I wasn't too familiar with. Again, Ted Bundy is one of those infamous characters throughout the history of just evil people that I knew of, but I didn't really know the story of kind of what all took place between 1974 and 1978, between these 7 different states and these 30 different homicides. So this really dove deep into it and really kind of opened my eyes to this monster and the things that took place and all the stuff that kind of went into it. So the way I'm going to kind of handle this, I'm just going to touch on the different episodes, pull out some things that I thought were fascinating, and then get in the end of this video, kind of give you my overall thoughts and give you a score and let you know, again, if it's worth checking out. So kind of starting with that, episode 1, which was titled Handsome Devil, kind of sets the tone. We have these 2 journalists that want to go in to interview Ted Bundy, and as they say, hear it from the horse's mouth, hear it from his point of view. At this point, he's tried for 2 counts of murder, multiple counts of murder, and homicides, obviously, and kidnapping. So they want to know, what was it that got you to this point? So as I'm watching the episode, again, kind of summarizing it, these journalists are doing their best to try to get as much information on Ted Bundy as they possibly can to kind of get the story out there, So while I'm watching the episode, they're doing their best to try to get information from Ted Bundy, but so far what he's doing in response to their questions is he's creating his own image of himself, how he grew up, how his family was kind of set in this kind of perfect world, and how how he looked at the world and things of that nature. But it wasn't really... He wasn't answering the questions that they were looking for. Is obviously, how did you, kill these women? Now, tell us about what you did. How did you study these women? Did you follow these women? But he wasn't answering these questions. He was dodging them. So as I'm watching that, I'm like, okay, where is this going? Because this is a 4-part miniseries or docu-series. How are they going to kind of construct this documentary? So it wasn't until the last 5 minutes that we kind of get that hook, or at least for me, it was the hook where the journalists kind of switched their way of asking Ted Bundy these questions. And by the way, how they asked him these questions, it opened up this new side of Ted Bundy, which was the hook for me. Because like, okay, now we're going to get into it, and now I can see how they're going to spread this out over the next 3 episodes. So leading to that, we get into episode 2, which was titled One of Us, which essentially kind of dives into Ted Bundy, the man between his 2, where most of his crimes took place, which was Seattle and Utah. So we see how he kind of develops these relationships with people, how he joins a group of this church group, how he has 2 pretty big relationships with these 2 females in his point in his life. They were really critical in his life. One was, ended in kind of heartbreak for him and kind of maybe triggered some things. And the other one actually, which the movie that they're going to be having premiere pretty soon with Zac Efron is going to show this particular relationship where this woman had a daughter and how that all went. So kind of touched on that. We also kind of get into, in episode 2, kind of how he transitioned from Seattle, doing about, I believe it was like 10 homicides during that time, and how he transitioned to Utah. And this was the kind of the meat of the episode. There's a particular part in the episode where we find out when he's in Utah that he kidnaps a girl, an 18-year-old, and she got away. And what I found fascinating in this episode was, a lot of the stuff so far, the footage that we got, and was, different cuts between archive footage and some of the people that were interviewing him. But this was the first time we actually see present day footage of someone that got away from Ted Bundy. And it was very fascinating hearing her thoughts, how her life was obviously affected by that. But that was really the biggest thing out of that episode was someone got away from Ted Bundy and was able to live to tell about it, which was really fascinating. And also kind of the episode kind of wraps up where we see Ted Bundy's in Utah, and we see how he gets caught for the first time, which is something that you think someone that was known as this smart, intelligent guy, he gets caught because his lights were not on while driving in traffic. He was pulled over, tried to get away from cops, but ultimately he was caught. So the episode kind of leaves off, well, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but the next way to get you into episode 3 was he gets caught. He's in, getting prepared for his trials. They're in a courtroom. He's prepping for everything, and he escapes the courtroom. He jumps out of this window, and that leads us into episode 3, which was titled "Not My Turn to Watch Him." So as the title kind of hints, it talks about not only his escape from the courtroom, but his escape from prison, how he gets through this. He loses a bunch of weight, comes out of, he escapes through this ceiling, and he gets this police officer's clothes. And anyway, long story short, that particular episode 3, kind of goes into depth as far as he was missing for 46 days. And within those 46 days, there were some more things that unfortunately took place. There were 3 other murders, which included a 12-year-old girl, Kimberly Leach, I believe her name was, and 2 other women that were sorority members that were killed in their sleep. And then there was 5 other women that were brutally injured. So it was just really some heart-wrenching stuff in this particular episode. This was probably my favorite episode of the series because it really dives deep into some of the things that happened during that time. And then it really, the most fascinating part to me was really just the system during the 70s, as far as the way this man was able to manipulate the judge, the jury, all this stuff, how he was able to slick talk these people. This episode really shines a light on that. At one point, he represents himself when he's on trial, and he's talking to the judge at one point in the episode, and he's telling the judge, keep in mind, this man is on trial for death. He's found guilty, he's gonna die. So in the mix of this, he's talking to the judge about, I need more exercise time. I need better books to read. I need a better lighting in my room to read my books. And it was just fascinating just to see how this man's mind worked. He's on a trial for death, and he's talking about books and lighting. It's just fascinating. It was just wild. This is one point in the episode where he's talking to the press, and it's just incredible how this man was able to slick talk a lot of these people. Again, how they end up catching this man again for the second time. He was caught on a traffic violation, and they brought him in after those 46 days. And in the midst of that, he tells the journalist what he was doing in those 46 days other than these brutal murders. He was able to take a plane to Chicago. He was able to take a train to go see the Rose Bowl. So again, it's just fascinating, not only how the system was just so different back then, but also just technology. How were they not able to catch this man getting on a plane, a train, and going to a public sporting event such as the Rose Bowl. So definitely episode 3 was by far my favorite episode. Kind of wrapping up here, episode 4, which was titled, let me look it up here, Burn, Bundy Burn. So that just really dives into the trial and how everything came about. They introduced us to this young woman named Carol, who was really by his side, believed he was innocent, went further enough to... Ted Bundy at one point is on his second trial for death row. He asked to marry this woman, Carol, in the middle of his trial, which was fascinating. They ended up having a kid together. Just a lot of crazy stuff. Again, this episode had one of the more crazier moments that I've seen and heard about, where he's on trial, he's interviewing, so he's representing himself again, mind you. He's interviewing, cross-examining the police officer that was on the scene of one of his murders. And while Ted's asking him questions, he's asking this police officer, describe in detail what you saw in the room. And as the police officer responding to him, you see Ted just kind of soaking it all in. Like he thrived off that. Like he was kind of getting off on the facts that the guy was telling, which was just insane. So again, this episode was really fascinating. It was the longest out of the 3. Other 4 was like an hour and 15, but it really dove deep into the trial, what happened, the aftermath, and just really dove into, how people were interviewing him at this point, or how did you come about killing these 36 women? Not to give too much away. Again, this is all documented, but in his final days, he ended up revealing a lot of the stuff that he did, where he put a lot of the bodies, how he went about certain things. And again, just kind of wrapping up this review here, guys. Very fascinating documentary that Netflix presented. Again, he's in the zeitgeist, so everyone knows of Ted Bundy. But again, I wasn't familiar with a lot of this stuff in detail, which this Netflix documentary did a phenomenal job of giving the details, and it was shot well, it was handled well. The interviews were great, the archives were really good, but it was just all in all just a very fascinating documentary on Ted Bundy. So I would recommend you guys checking it out. If I were to rate this, I would definitely probably give it 4.5 out of 5. If I were to be nitpicky, I would say the beginning is a little bit of a slow burn. There's times throughout the documentary where certain things were just kind of scattered all over the place. The timeline, the way they were kind of telling the story, kind of, obviously it wasn't one linear story. It had to go from one point to the next, but it was a little confusing at times. But all in all, that's a little nitpicky thing for me. 4.5 out of 5 for me. I definitely recommend it if you guys want to check it out. If you want to see and learn more about this horrible monster, Ted Bundy. And again, this is his 30th anniversary this past Thursday. We did a trailer reaction for the new movie that's coming out, which is actually directed by the same guy that did this documentary, which stars Zac Efron. So check out that trailer reaction. And then let me know in the comments, guys, if you saw this documentary, what you thought about it. Were you fascinated by it as much as I was? Let me know what you would rank it, and ultimately just your overall thoughts. Share this video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Check out our other content that we have on our channel right now, movie reviews, trailer reactions, and so much more. Definitely follow us on all of our social media accounts. Thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you on the next one.